Excited now to be joined by Mr. Matt Moscona, host of After Further Review, 3 to 6 p.m. weekdays over at ESPN 104.5. Thank you so much for being with us.
My pleasure.
All right, we're going to jump straight into this game. So a couple big injuries for LSU going into this one. Emery Jones at tackle, Mekhi Wingo on the defensive line. Who are some people that you're looking for on offense and defense to step up in this one?
Well, the biggest one on offense would obviously be Lance Hurd. So we're going to get to see the freshman make a start. And it's maybe most important because while we saw him play against Mississippi State extensively and Grambling, if Emery Jones isn't able to go against Alabama, I'm not sure that the injury could have come at a better time. You got to get a full game essentially against Auburn for Lance Hurd. Now he gets to make the start against Army and play an entire game. I mean, those reps are invaluable for a freshman. The game slows down a little bit. He had a couple of early penalties against Auburn, probably some jitters. So offensively, it's got to stop and start there with Lance Hurd and the progress that he can make.
Now, you mentioned playing against Bama. They do have that bye week. So, of course, you hate to see guys get injured. LSU's been pretty fortunate on that end this season. But like you mentioned, is this the time where if you are going to have a guy go down for a couple weeks, it's this game?
Absolutely. Not only because the replacement gets the opportunity for reps, but you get the bye week. So if you think about Emery Jones' injury, you suffered against Auburn. It's 21 days from injury to when you theoretically want him to play against Alabama. You get the full week this week, the open date, and then more rest, rehab, treatment before the Bama game, the week of the Bama game. So injuries are never a good thing. There's good timing, and I think LSU is a beneficiary of that. But I'd also say LSU's training staff deserves a ton of credit. Not only the training, but strength and conditioning. Because LSU is largely, Mason Smith last year not included, but LSU has largely avoided major injuries the past couple of years under Brian Kelly. And I don't think that's by coincidence. I think they've got a great plan of how they treat and prevent injuries as well through their preparation.
Now, you talked about that offensive line just now. Jayden Daniels has taken some shots this season. Fortunately, nothing too serious. He had the sore ribs after Missouri. But outside of that, he's escaped pretty healthy. Do you feel like he's starting to get that respect nationally that a lot of the fans at LSU have been giving him all season?
We all watch Jayden Daniels run, and every time, like, it's everybody. Get out of bounds. Everybody. I mean, it's a product of his style of play, but it's also what makes him so effective. The respect, absolutely. He's got the 5th best Heisman odds right now. I think he's in a really good spot, honestly, because the guys above him are going to keep losing. As long as LSU keeps winning, he'll continue to climb there. But we learned this lesson back in 2015 with Leonard Fournette, when through October, Leonard had such a commanding Heisman lead. There were people who were already starting to engrave his name on the trophy. And we all learned you don't do that in October because that award is won in November, and largely it's your performance in big games in November and what your team's performance is like as well. So if LSU goes to Tuscaloosa and wins, and Jayden puts up 300 yards of total offense and 3-4 touchdowns, he will catapult himself right there with Michael Penix atop the Heisman standings, and he'll garner all that national respect. But I don't know how you could look at what he's doing right now and not give him the respect that he's earned by his play on this team so far and the transformation he's made year to year.
Now, we heard Brian Kelly and some of the players, Will Campbell, kind of echoed that going into this game against Army, of course, there's the respect for the players in that program. But Saturday night, when the lights come on, they hit the field, it's a football game. But that being said, the spread's also 30 points. Do you think focus is going to be an issue at all with this program?
32.
32.
No, I don't think focus is a problem. And honestly, I don't know that there's been a game since Brian Kelly's been the coach where I can say they weren't locked in. Now, they've had losses. I mean, the Ole Miss loss was ugly. The Tennessee loss a year ago was ugly. Those weren't great matchups. I don't think that's a product of a letdown, which, unfortunately, we would see a lot during the Les Miles era. And I think so much of it was just built around the Bama game and the success or failure of that game. You're always bound to have letdown spots. But no, I think Brian Kelly, one of the things when he first got the LSU job and the way he put systems in place to hold players accountable, from the app that they all had on their phone to measure what they ate and how much they slept, he's got guys that are bought in. I mean, the way he runs his program, you have to be bought in. I think that's prevented complacency in a lot of spots. When LSU's had their shortcomings, it's been really just because of their physical inability in certain matchups.
Now, one thing that people have complained about with LSU this season is the penalties. When you look at the other side at Army, they're top 5 in the country. Surprise, surprise. The military academy is disciplined. But
either that or they get all the breaks, huh?
So,
nobody wants to throw a flag on a guy in uniform.
Right, and so do you think that discipline makes up for the talent gap at all?
Yes and no. It makes up for the talent gap against teams that might be similar. In a game like this, there's no comparison. Look, Army has had some good teams. Army went to Oklahoma a few years ago and darn near won. They probably should have won the game. They had an opportunity with a 2-point conversion to go win the game. Instead, they went to overtime and lost. They gave Michigan a scare up in Ann Arbor. But those are different Army teams. Those were veteran Army teams. That was before the rule change forced Army to recreate its offense. Like, if people haven't watched Army, like, you're going to see a different Army Saturday night in Tiger Stadium. It's not going to look like a traditional triple option. So I don't think discipline makes up that gap against a team like LSU because the gap is just too big. If Army's going to win this game or compete in this game, it's going to be because LSU's turning the ball over, giving them quick scores, short fields. Army can shrink the game with the way they run the ball. Like, that's the path for Army, but it's not going to be because they somehow level the playing field with talent or discipline. I don't see it that way.
Now you look at this Army offense. It's not necessarily the Army offense of the last 100 years, but they are banged up coming into this game. Quarterback Bryson Daly went down with an injury last week. Their leading receiver has been out the last 2 weeks. We'll see if he goes tomorrow. But, I mean, is this a chance to build confidence in this secondary? Even considering it's Army, they understand the talent gap, but with so many guys new to this secondary, is this a good game to build confidence?
I don't know that it's a good opportunity for the secondary because I don't think Army's going to throw it a ton. It's just not what they do. So, and look, I say that Bryson Daly does have a game where he's attempted 20 passes, which 20 passes for Army feels like 60 for anybody else. I think more so it's two things. One, it's just having any defensive success because the way LSU played defensively against Arkansas, really for the bulk of the game against Florida State and certainly the Ole Miss game, any type of defensive success is a plus. But I do think functionally in the defensive front seven, this is a real challenge because when you face a team that's going to use misdirection, you got to be gap sound, you have to trust your eyes, all the things that coaches say all the time. But it's true in a game like this. So where can LSU improve defensively against an opponent like this? Probably not in the secondary, but at the line of scrimmage, absolutely. Because look, in 2 weeks you're going to face Jalen Milroe, and that's a quarterback that is a threat to run and can beat you with his feet. So you got to be disciplined against a guy like that. This is maybe a good training ground for something like that.
Sticking with that defense, Brian Kelly has been reiterating the last couple weeks that they've moved to that 4-down defense. They feel comfortable. One of the big points in that is Harold Perkins at the same position. How do you feel about that spot for him?
We see it. I mean, he looks like he's playing fast and free. But Harold wanted to be a Mike backer. So you come into this year and he spends all spring and all of fall trying to learn how to play on the inside. You saw one game against Florida State where he got caught in the wash and you're like, that ain't for you, man. That's just not what you do. So they had to kind of, based on a game plan, opponent to opponent, find where he best fit. Well, now you got it, that spot. He's not thinking anymore. It's where you're going to be when you line up in this defensive alignment in a true 4-3 as the Sam. Now go play fast and free. And you're seeing that. He's using his athleticism to run sideline to sideline and making TFLs. And, oh, by the way, he's athletic enough to turn and cover. The interception he had a couple of weeks ago against Missouri was beautiful. And we don't love seeing Harold Perkins at covers because we think of him as a pass rusher, but he can cover. He's athletic enough to do it. He's more of a coverage nickel Sam than he is a true inside backer. So, yeah, the change has been great for two things. It's allowed your defensive linemen to play more their traditional spots where they can be disruptive, and you found a home for Harold Perkins. Those two things are the biggest functional advantage and difference of switching to the true 4-down front.
Brian Kelly at Notre Dame against Army, 27-3, 44-6. The over-under for this one's approaching 60. How do you think it's going to play out?
I don't know that LSU against a service academy is going to go try to run up a score. And my hope is that LSU has a comfortable enough lead that you can empty the bench in the fourth quarter, if not sooner. I think LSU wins. I think they win comfortably. If I was wagering, this is one when I'm looking at the total or the spread going, I'm just going to, out of respect for our country, not touch that one. It's a big number, but my sincere hope for LSU is, look, stay healthy, get a comfortable win, get a lot of guys experience, and go into your open date and start getting ready for Bama.
Once again, Matt Moscona, ESPN 1045. Tell them where they can find you after the game.
Man, if you can spell my name, you can find me online. But after the game, me and T-Bob do a show called Whiskey and Wine at Don Juan Cigar Bar. If you're underage, you can't get in there. But no, it's a lot of fun. You can stream it on the 1045 ESPN YouTube channel.